Good morning, everybody. So today's a little bit different. I'm standing up because I'm needing to charge my phone. And yesterday I didn't do, it's kind of for myself. I read Psalm 34 and 35. Um, so I'll just not do that one. So, because I was trying to think why I didn't do it yesterday, but I had to go to the doctor. So kind of threw everything off. But I read Psalm 36 today. And I like verses 2 and 4. And this is talking about the wicked person. It says, "For in his own eye he flatters himself too much to detect or hate his sin. The words of his mouth are wicked and deceitful. He has ceased to be wise and to do good. Even on his bed he plots evil. He commits himself to a sinful course and does not reject what is wrong." What? I just like the part where he flatters himself too much to detect or hate his sin. That is something. Wow. Verses 9 and 10. "For with you is the fountain of life. In your light we see light." It's obviously talking about God. In his light that we see light. That's so true. It's like because of him that our eyes are opened. 10 says, "Continue your love to those who know you, your righteousness to the upright in heart." First question is, where do you go to get refreshed? And initially I was going to say church, but sometimes even church can be have issues, be a pain, not whatever. So really what it is getting into God's presence and just walking away from everything and yeah, just putting down everything electronic wise, things, just whatever, just to just spend time with him, just sit in silence and talk to him and spend time with him. That's how I get refreshed. Whether, I love going to the beach, but I can't always go to the beach. So whether it's if I just go in my backyard, like just get away from everything and just read his word and then just sit there and think and talk to him. That's a good way for me to get refreshed. Or obviously in church, being in his presence, can talk during worship. That is like a huge one for me, is worship. To what can you compare God's love, his faithfulness, his justice? To me, obviously, like there's nothing can compare to God's love, and I think I've probably talked about that the last couple of days or something, that nothing compares to God's love. But the most that I can think of is like a love that a decent normal parent would have towards their child. That's the closest thing I think that you can get to God's love on the earth, because other than that, I just really, there's nothing. Because like I've talked about this, I mean, he knew us before we were born. He's the one who formed us. He knew everything right and wrong we would do, from beginning to the end. And yet he still loves us, and yet he still sent his son to die for us. There's no one else on the face of the earth that could ever be like God. There just is not. The next question, it says, "What have you tasted of God's feast recently?" I don't know if it's talking about being in God's presence or whatever, but I put just being in his presence, like worship. What? I'm a worshiper. I love worship. I love music. Like that is it for me. But then I put, I guess I was thinking maybe along the lines of things that God has done for us. I don't know. And recently, like I think within the last month, he has changed so much for me, maybe a month and a half, something like that. He's just changed so much for me. And I'm not even going to share it. He's awesome. It's awesome. And the enemy's trying to, discourage me. But you know what? I refuse, because whatever God wants is what's going to happen. And I have to just go along with it and believe and trust, because he's the one who knows my best interests. You know what I'm saying? And the last part, the last question, it says, "How has he refreshed you?" And I guess that was kind of just answering what I just said. Just being in his presence, and just finally like knowing like, okay, all the bad times you've had, eventually you will have good times again. You know what I'm saying? And just him changing me, actually, because I don't even think really that he's changed my situation so much. I mean, he's starting to, but just changing me, I think really, that's the big thing. Helping me to grow and mature me in him. That's the biggest thing for me, as to how he has refreshed me, because he's refreshed my mind. He's renewed my mind. And if that happens, then You know, like the world is yours, you know what I'm saying? And the enemy can't do anything about it, you know? Because once your um, viewpoint, I guess, your attitude, your perspective, whatever you want to call it, has changed, then you see things. I mean, the point is you see things differently, obviously, and so things don't bother you. You know, whatever circumstances you're going through, it doesn't matter because God has changed your perspective. So you can go through those things, like, you know, those horrible, bad, painful moments, and you can still have that joy. You can still have that love for God, you know, and you can still know without a shadow of doubt that it doesn't matter what I'm going through because God is still there for me. God still loves me. You know what I'm saying? So what? Okay, I'm done because I feel like I'm about to cry because God is just so good. And it's amazing how the enemy loves to try and trick us when we go through these bad times, that God isn't there, you know, and that he doesn't love us. What? Okay, I'm trying not to cry. Because it's not true, you know what I'm saying? And just now, it's just like how much I've learned through the past couple years, and just growing in God is just wow. Like, yeah, God has helped me a lot. And what's crazy is I know I'm still not there yet. Like, I'm just not there. Anyways, I don't know. I guess today's just talking about refreshing, renewing my mind, actually. So just refreshing. Where do you to go rewind? I can't talk. Where do you go to get refreshed? You know, and honestly, there's nothing in this world or no one in this world that's going to be able to refresh you like God's presence and being with him. So take that time. My suggestion is take that time. Even like what I do is I go in my backyard and shut off like all the electronics, all the distractions. My kids know not to talk to me because, yeah, I probably wouldn't be nice to them. And just have that time with God. And actually, I try to do it. I get up really early in the morning and I do it. And so, you know, all those distractions that could come about aren't there, you know, and just sit out there. I read, you know, I do this. And then I just sit there and I talk to God and I try to listen. I probably talk more than I listen. But I just try to listen and I just enjoy what God has made, you know, the sky, the trees, the wind blowing, the birds, you know, just listening to that stuff, you know, that's what is the refreshing thing, is being in God's presence. So I just encourage you to do that. I'm going to end this video. Y'all have a fabulous, fabulous weekend today, Saturday. Go to church somewhere, either today, tomorrow, whatever. Get in God's presence. I mean, like, really seriously enter into God's presence and challenge God. You know, like, God, really speak to me, you know, and really listen to hear what God has to say to you. That's my challenge. Get refreshed by being in his presence. So that's pretty much my challenge for this weekend. Yeah, but in order, not necessarily in order to do it, you have to go to church, but you know, it's a good thing to go because it makes getting into God's presence easier. When a bunch of us get together, it's just easier and quicker to get into God's presence. So y'all have a fabulous, fabulous weekend. Get refreshed. Love y'all. Peace. Bye.